with the directing duo Alex and Steffen, and you are watching Eclectic Arts Media.
Because of the color green, not a lot of people choose it. I don't know why.
Hi, I'm Jackson, and this is...
I'm Jake Shimobukuro.
And you're watching Eclectic Arts Media.
Anytime I'm doing anything, he wants to be involved. This is midnight.
If I can walk out of the ring the way I walked into it, I'm happy.
Going to somewhere like that and playing those places that all those bands that you listen to played.
First line of the show, life's not fair, is it?
And then I'm singing and I'm going, I'm not all by myself anymore.
Oh, whoa. Whoa.
I know.
My name is Tyler Campbell, and I'm playing Actor 3 in Taproot's production of A Sherlock Carol, and you are watching Eclectic Arts Media.
You know, even with editing, I get irritated. I'm like, but I get quite stubborn, you know.
And he's sitting, okay, I believe you. So
I think I forgot your question, but I went on a different path, but it felt great.
I'll give myself 24 hours to be bummed, and then I got to move on. I don't have time for this.
And I need to keep as much hair as possible because, particularly in Hindley Street, no one's got hair. You'd fit right in, Mark. So
I can't believe it's been that long since we talked. Time flies.
Hello, we're rolling cards.
And you're watching Eclectic Arts Media.
Right. They may be super confused. Like, what is this woman talking about?
Projects with whatever theater I could reach around here, you know.
All right, look here. Hey, this is Alex Thor from Cancer Slug. This is Cancer Slug. And you're watching Eclectic Arts Media. See, I said it right.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts Media, based here in Seattle, Washington. And thank you so much for joining me on this Thursday, the 15th of January, 2026. Gosh, we're already halfway through the first month of 2026. And I'd like to thank my guest from Monday, DJ Alley Cat, the first DJ that I've had the wonderful opportunity to interview. She was wonderful. And as you saw in that clip, she's the gal that her cat Midnight showed up and basically stayed throughout the entire interview. He was very, very curious about what she's doing. And she mentioned that wherever she's at, he always wants to be there with her. So it was really great, a great chance to talk to her about the DJ world. And I learned a lot from talking with her. And speaking of which, coming up, my next scheduled live stream is later today. So if you have the time at 6 p.m. Pacific, I am expecting actor Sarah Schweid to join me. I've had the pleasure of seeing Sarah at least twice on stage locally with some theater productions. I might be wrong with that. Maybe there's been more. We'll find out when we talk. So I'm looking forward to talking with her later today. And then these are not scheduled for sure yet, but I have at least 3 other live streams scheduled. Hopefully they're going to end up on the schedule next week. One is a band from the UK, so we need to kind of take advantage of the time schedule that I have right now with the 8-hour difference. And then there's 2 other actors that are, one of them is definitely going to get scheduled. We just have to confirm the day and time. The other one's interested, and we're just kind of figuring things out. So if you want to know, once those are actually confirmed and on the schedule, please follow me. It's Eclectic Arts Media, one word, on Instagram. That's where I post everything first. And then some of that information migrates over to other social media platforms. If this is your first time joining me on my YouTube channel, if you could do me a huge favor and please hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. And if you're over on the Twitch side of things, if you could follow me over there, that's great. Anytime you want to ask any of my guests, including today or any live stream that I have in the future, if you want to ask them a question, please just join the YouTube channel or the Twitch channel, and you should have immediate access to the live chat that will be going on. Please be aware that typically my guests do not see what those questions and comments are. I see them, so then I just fold them into the conversation as we go. So if I don't immediately ask your questions, probably because we're in the middle of a thought. But once we're not in the middle of a thought, then I'll definitely put your question in, and we just kind of go from there. So, and also if you are very, very supportive of what I do, or just like what you're seeing, and you start perusing through the channel, this streaming service costs me money every month. So if you're in the position to do so only, there's a PayPal me and a Venmo link that every dollar helps go towards keeping this thing going and improving the equipment and my sanity and, and everything else. But again, that's only if you're in a position to do so. But I really was very appreciative of the gifts and tips that came in last year, and maybe you'll be one of those folks this year. All right. My guest today is a dancer, choreographer, illustrator, educator, and artist. He has been entertaining audiences in many different capacities for decades. I had the pleasure of seeing him perform last year with the amazing Debbie Gibson. Please welcome to the Eclectic Arts Media virtual studio, EDDIE BENNETT.
Hi, Mark. How's it going?
I'm doing great, EDDIE. How are you?
I'm great. I'm glad we finally got this working, and that we got to talk.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, because I was thinking about that as I was getting ready today. That I was like, man, I reached out to you in October right after that show, and I'm like,
right,
it's January now, and the way my day job schedule's been, which has been all over the place, like I don't want to ask him again, and then I got to change it, and I'm like, let me just kind of let things kind of sit. And then we got to the holidays, and I'm like, okay, this is even worse. So, but
it happens when it's supposed to happen. It wasn't supposed to happen. It was supposed to kick off the new year, and I'm glad it is.
Yeah, that's a really great way to. That's a healthy way to look at it. So I appreciate that.
Well, in my world, I always try to think like, okay, it's not going to happen for this reason. There's a reason behind everything in my mind. Even if it's a disappointment, I'm like, okay, it's meant to be. Let's move on.
You know what? I agree with that, because sometimes, and you don't realize it in the moment, if something you were really looking forward to doesn't happen, sometimes that didn't happen because then this other opportunity is going to come over here. And you just kind of have to believe in that faith, basically.
Yeah.
I know I have that. I definitely have. I just got one. I got to know about something recently. I'm like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. But
yeah.
Again, there could be very much a reasoning and a purpose behind it, because, oh, okay, now this other thing's going to happen. Oh, that was on the same day. So, hey.
Yeah, I mean, that's been my whole career. I mean, you can never really rely on it. Until I'm on stage or doing something, I'm like, it's always up to chance. Things happen, and I get it.
That's so interesting that you say that, because I've said this. I don't even know if I've said this publicly, but I'm the same way, that until I see the guests backstage when I do these live games, because
Right.
and things happen. I totally understand that things, extremely legitimate things happen last minute, and family emergencies and
Oh yeah,
whatever
I was
else.
just telling you, I was like running from the dentist, and like I sat down like literally 5 minutes before we're supposed to go on, thinking, oh my God, I have to get home. And it just was, but then it was meant to be. So I'm here.
Yep, there we go. It's perfect. Perfect example. Yeah, I've had publicists call me 10 minutes before we were going to go live, and they feel really bad about it. I said, no, at least you're letting me know so that I can move forward. Because sometimes that's the worst one, when I'm actually like, let's say it was 2:00 over here, 2:05 or 2:08 right now, and I'm just sitting around like, where is he? He's not here, and I can't get a hold of him. That's happened.
Oh my God. And you have to go, do you have to go live at 2, or is it like, I'm curious. Are you on air live going like, where is he? Where is he?
What I end up doing is I delay going live, but I will go into the chat and try to let people know. I was like, hey, I'm waiting for so-and-so. Or if I heard that they are coming, they're just running late, so give us another 5 minutes. And then, but if it becomes, 2:15 and they're still not here, I will go live at that point and just say, I'm so sorry, folks, but they got caught up in something, and let's see if we can reschedule it. And thank you so much for taking the time, and keep watching my Instagram.
I mean, I kind of make it a point though, if I say I'm going to be somewhere, unless it's some, a comet's hitting the earth, I'm going to be there, so I knew whether I was going to have to run home, on foot, or, Todd was going to have to take an Uber or something, it was going to happen.
Well, I appreciate that attitude, because we share that attitude. It's kind of like, to me, if I say I'm going to be somewhere, then that's a priority. That means
it's a work ethic thing, it's a work ethic thing, and it's something that I, pride myself on. And I think people rely on people like that. They look to you. If you have that kind of sensibility, it just, people, count on it.
Yeah, it's very true. And also it becomes something that if they know that, hey, this guy's professional, they're going to show up on, they're going to be prepared, ready, all that kind of thing, no excuses, then you're going to get the next gig. And you're also going to be getting, you know, a good recommendation to somebody else that's looking for someone in that position. I've been lucky that way, that some of the local PR folks have been like, oh yeah, if you need somebody to do interviews, talk to Mark because he did this, this, and this, and we liked how it went. And so like, okay. And so sometimes people reach out, which I love. Now I'm like, I don't know who you are, but let's have,
but let's talk.
Yeah, let's have a dialogue and see what you got going on, because I love doing interviews and I love talking to people. And if I can help especially the artistic community out, if it's here or, you know, in the world, I'm all about it. So, and it's going to be great having with you here, because you do have such a long background in things that I just started getting into. And what I mean by that is that, so like with theater, musicals, ballet, opera, all these other kind of what I consider artistic things. Music, of course, is artistic too, but
Right.
I didn't start reviewing things until 2018. And so like with going to, like, my first musical that I reviewed was Love Never Dies, the touring version that came to Seattle. And I only wanted to do an interview. I've talked about this. I wasn't looking to see the show or to review the show.
Right.
I was not a musical theater person. But I thought this would be really interesting to talk to one of the leads who's playing the Phantom or Christine Daae. They got to do 8 shows in a run and then go to the next
I was just
city.
about to say, Love Never Dies is the Phantom, like the Phantom, but it was like the second Phantom, right? It was like the sequel to Phantom of the Opera.
Yep. it was a sequel. It was like not on the road for a long time for kind of pretty good reasons, I believe.
Yeah.
They brought it back up, but that started me down the path from that show to local plays and theaters here that I started reviewing. I'm always been of the mindset, if there's an area that I want to learn more about, I want to talk to the people that do it. Especially if I'm going to try to be a reviewer, critic kind of person. I'm like, well, I'm a musician myself and a photographer and a writer, but I don't know dance. I don't know musical theater from other than watching it. I know it better now from reviewing, but I still haven't done it. I haven't been on a stage that way. I've been on a stage playing my guitar and trying to sing, that kind of thing. So I do know that aspect when things are going really well and when things are like,
yeah, I get it.
Let me kind of start with what I saw in September, and then we'll kind of work our way back, because I want to kind of touch on all kinds of different points. So Debbie Gibson came here to Seattle, folks, when this was at the end of September, played the Triple Door for 2 shows, and I hadn't seen her since 91, I want to say. And as soon as I saw she was coming and all that kind of thing, so I got to do the VIP. I got to do all this stuff.
I remember you from VIP. I do.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely give you some flowers in a second in terms of that session. But Eddie was part of Debbie's group in the background, and also you do some vocals a little bit.
I do.
Don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. And Debbie talked about when she was introducing the band members, like how long she's known them, that kind of thing. And in your particular case, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounded like it started back when you were both doing Chicago.
Right, at North Shore Music Theater near Boston. That's where we first met.
Okay, and how many years ago was that?
That was like, I want to say, okay, if it's 26, it was like 2000. I mean, like, it's been like 26 years we've been doing this together.
Wow. So
yeah.
For me, just being curious, if you go back to 2000 and you're working with her, what were some of the things that just kind of stood out? Did you like immediately have a bond, or how did that work?
Well, I mean, you know, if you really want to get in depth, you should get her book, Eternally Electric, because it describes the way the two of us met back then in much more detail. But I'll kind of give you the quick go of it. I mean, I joined the cast. We were all, cast together, but I was like the baby of the group. I didn't have an equity card. It was my first equity union gig. And I was getting my equity card from doing this production. And when I found out she was involved, I lost it. I mean, I was so excited because I grew up with her. I grew up on the music. I mean, I remember my sister had Electric Youth on tape, and I like stole it from her because it was like, what is this? Like, who is this? I was listening to like Madonna and Whitney and George Michael, and she just kind of fit right into that like whole group with me. So I grew up listening to that. And when I knew she was there, I remember being out at a picnic table with the cast, and somebody said, "What did she sing?" And I was like, "Are you joking?" Like, I stood up and I sang like every song, that I could remember. And when we went back in, she had found out what I was doing outside, singing all the music, and she was like, come here, come here, come here. And we went into this like empty rehearsal room, and she sat down at the piano and she goes, what's your favorite song? And I said, We Could Be Together is my absolute favorite song. And she started playing and serenading me. And it's like we were inseparable from that moment on.
That must have been so crazily surreal to have her and just the two of you in this practice room. And she's like, what's your favorite song? And just starts playing it.
And like I could have asked for anything, but I asked for, you know, what was truly my favorite song. I mean, I still love singing that song on stage. I still get like kind of worked up on stage, like singing when we sing We Could Be Together. It's like I remember singing it in my bedroom, and then now I'm on stage with her. It's like this like whole like look how far you've come moment in my mind. And sometimes I actually like get really teary on stage during that song. Just hits me right in my heart. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, you're like, I think anyone else that's ever gotten to a position where they could, you know, go from, like you said, in your bedroom listening to a song, and then all these years later, now you're on stage with that person. You know, the closest thing I have, and I've mentioned this in some other live streams, is that as a concert photographer, when I'm in a photo pit and then there's a guy up there, like say Rob Halford from Judas Priest, that I used to listen to in 1982, and now I'm taking his picture. It's just like the most bizarre thing to me. I'm so grateful for it, but it's a pinch me moment for sure.
Oh yeah. And I'm lucky enough to say I've had a lot of pinch me moments, but you know, it's one thing to like meet somebody, and then it's like another thing to like go, I listen to you and now like you're my best friend, and like it's you know, it's crazy. It's fun and crazy. I mean, you know, I love my life.
Yeah, no, that's I think there's got to be people that are very envious right now. But it does also kind of this is actually maybe a good segue. So that you said you're like the baby of the cast when you did Chicago in 2000. How long had you been doing theater or musical theater prior to that gig?
So I left home, and when I say home, I left Garland, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas, when I was 17. I couldn't legally work like everyone needed an 18-year-old. But I was turning 18 in a few weeks, and I was already starting to audition. I just couldn't really, as an adult, be at 18. So I had to, you know, work some jobs on the side. But my first job came 2 months after I left home. So I was just 18 when I got my first gig. And that was on, I actually got 2 gigs at the same time, and I had to make a decision. And one was to go to Germany and do this really fun play that everyone was talking about at the time. That was also a musical. So a musical, not just a play, but a musical. And then, or I could go on a cruise and for an 18 and see the world. And I was like, for an 18-year-old, I don't have rent. I don't need to pay for food. I get to bank all that money and see the world. I'm going on the cruise. So I went on the cruise. And that was my first gig at 18.
Wow. So when you're on the cruise, what was your job? What were you doing?
I was dancing and singing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so did you take lessons back in the day to become a dancer, or how did this come to be?
So I wasn't allowed to take dance class when I was younger. I grew up, like I said, in Texas. And so my parents were very much like, no, your sisters can take dance. You have to take something else if you want, you know. And mind you, I mean, it's the 80s. It's a different time, you know, boys just didn't dance back then. And so I went into gymnastics, and I was a gymnast from the time I, you know, could stand basically to, you know, my 10th grade. So I did that first. That got me ready. I found theater when I was in like 7th, 8th grade, and then realized, oh my God, this is like, I didn't love gymnastics. I liked it. I didn't love just dancing. I liked it, you know, but when I got to put everything together, that's when I was like, oh, I can do this. I love this, you know? So that's what musical theater brought to my world.
Okay. That's interesting that when you started doing musical theater, it's like, okay, now I found this thing that I know I can keep digging into and learn more about, and I want to be a part of. Did that also include the acting part of that?
Oh yeah. I mean, I love, like, give me the smallest line in the show and I love it. Like I'll make it my own and I'll do it in a way, on being on Broadway at Chicago the musical, like I love playing all the roles because I also play them differently. You won't hear me say the same line like you hear it by the other guy. You know what I'm saying? I like exploring saying things different ways than they're just always said.
Okay, yeah, no, I love your approach to that. That you're like, how do I make this? It's almost like you're challenging yourself. How do I make this interesting, or whether it hasn't been done yet?
Well, I always think back of like some people that I love, like Amy Sedaris, or that can walk into a scene and steal it without really like going like, here I am, you know what I'm saying? Like just the way they deliver a line. I always think of like Amy Sedaris and Elf going like, being on the phone going, I don't know, Susan, I've never declawed kittens before. Like that was what, like if you listen to it, it's brilliant, but it's just a teeny weeny little part, but it steals the scene.
See, and this is the thing that for other like up and coming artists, I've had, I can't remember who that was, and I don't want to mention their name if I remember it, but they're kind of taking the opposite approach about how bummed they're getting if they only had like one line or they had the smaller part or whatever. I'm like, it should be more like, what can I do to knock this out of the park? And it could be subtly knock it out of the park, but still make, get my lick in there good.
Right, and I don't have that. And I use this like not in an insulting way, but I don't have that ego that says I have to be front and center and I have to have all the songs, and I'm not that person. I like, being the like, almost like the ninja in the back that's going to say one line and everyone's going to remember that, Yeah,
no, that's you like being a part of the experience. You want to, again, kind of do your thing and know that you're adding to this experience by the way that you deliver your line or the dance number that you're doing. And that's so interesting that you started so early and we're on the cruise. How long were you on the cruise doing the work?
I did 3 contracts in a row. So I did that contract, then I left for the same company that hired me for the cruise ship was Paramount. And Paramount also has theme parks. And they were like, how about if you come do a theme park in Ohio? And I was like, okay. And so I was always of the mindset, if somebody's going to pay me to sing, dance, and act, or one of those 3 things, as long as like I'm earning money from it, I'll do it. I know a lot of actors that I left Dallas with that came up about the same time that I did. They were like, if I'm only doing Broadway and that's it, I'm not lowering myself to cruise ships or theme parks or this and that. I'm like, okay, like if they're going to pay you, why would you be so staunch in what you want to do? And a lot of them don't work anymore. I mean, they gave up on the business a long time ago. So I was always of the mindset that like, if you're going to pay me, I'll do it, So I went to Ohio, I did that. I realized that it was only a seasonal job. They hadn't told that to me before I moved there. So then I moved to Florida and became a part of the Busch Gardens theme park family for a second. And then the cruise ship called again and they were like, we have a guy just left. We think you can jump in and do his part quickly. Can you come out now? And I was like, yes. And I jumped out there, and my husband, that's where I met my husband, was on that cruise ship. And then we did another cruise ship. I did the QE2 for a little bit. And then I did Tahiti for 9 months. I lived in Tahiti.
Wow. It's interesting that what you're talking about, because I've also run into some of these folks that like, I'm only going to do this. These other things that are in the same sphere, I'm not going to do it. And it's kind of like, you realize like most people that I know, especially if they're in the arts, they have different revenue streams. As long as something that they're okay with doing, if it's dancing, acting, commercials, voiceovers, what have you, that they're going to look at it seriously and most likely take the job, because that's part of having a living and keeping a roof over your head. And then everyone would love to say, I want to be able to do this and nothing else, but it's like you're kind of probably going to hurt yourself at some point.
And for me too, they were like little like learning blocks for me, because in those areas you don't usually get to combine acting, singing, dancing in a theme park show or a cruise ship show. You're either a dancer, you're either a singer, you're not ever really all 3, like an actor, singer, dancer. So it made me hone into one specific thing. So in being just a dancer, I got to really concentrate on technique and training and the things that I didn't really have yet, you know, and or if I thought I did, I was delusional, you know, because at 18, there's still so much more you can learn. And so focusing on just singing in Tahiti when I was just a singer in the show, you know, that helped my voice, you know, that everything was leading up to the next thing for me.
Really good points about all of these things, and just like you said that earlier in this interview about, you know, certain things come for a certain reason, and maybe these things are going to help you, you know, 10 years down the road. You don't really realize it, but it's like, well, that's why you kind of take these things, you know, as they come.
Right. And I never thought to myself like, oh, I'm going to just, you know, be on Broadway the second I left. I'm like, you know, there used to be this thing called like, you got to pay your dues to get to where you know, and I felt like I honestly paid my dues to the point that where I got to walk on that stage and make my Broadway debut, you know?
There's so many things that are going on in my head by what you're bringing up. But it's very true. And I talk about like when I first started doing concert photography which I don't know, it's been at least 10, 11 years now, that you meet some of the younger people and they're, in my opinion, they're a little delusional. It's like, I want to go shoot, you know, Lady Gaga at Climate Pledge Arena in front of 20,000 people. And it's like, what have you done? Where's your portfolio? What have you? And it's like, well, I shot this local band over here in the park, and and there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, hey, you need to kind of hone your craft.
Right.
And if you think you're just going to
that's
jump,
not to say that there aren't like talented 20-year-olds that like I've worked with that are like, oh, you're amazing, like come on in. It's just like not everyone is that either. You know, some people I'm like, oh yeah, maybe, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. I used to work with models doing model photography for about 10 years. And there was a local guy that, man, he was, to your point, he was just jumping over everybody in terms of he was so good right out of the gate. I'm like, dang, look at that guy's
right.
stuff. But
and then meanwhile too, I don't rest on my experience either. I always feel like you will never hear from me, I've been in this business this long, so I deserve this or that, you know, like you'll never hear that because I always feel like I gotta learn something new, or, you know, I can always push myself further.
I have a similar mindset. And I think I would say most artistic people do that. They're not necessarily happy with what they just did because they know they can do it better.
Right.
And as long as you have that mentality, you will continue to be better and doing everything else, and maybe looking at things from a different angle that you didn't look at, 5 years ago. If you ever get to the point of like, I'm good, I know where I don't need to do it anymore, you're done. You're
right.
done
Or you're just resting on your laurels, and that's, not good either, that keeps you stagnant,
Yeah, nobody wants to see a half-assed performance.
Right.
At all, especially if you know what they're capable of. It's like,
right,
what are you doing? Why are you phoning this in? I know you're capable of so much more.
I'm sure if you're seeing like concerts and like this, there are some people that do, and you just go,
Yep. Let me kind of go back. Speaking of concerts, that one thing that I really, really loved, I have not done very many VIP sessions as a fan, or just as being a media person. A lot of times I get to interview people, I can get a picture with them then. But, in David's case, is like, I want the whole shebang. I want, I want everything. And what I really appreciated, and it wasn't until after the fact, after I'd left the Triple Door and all that kind of thing, and I got to my car and was looking at the phone, was how many pictures you took. As I got to meet her, she's signing stuff. I mean, there must have been 20 pictures at least. And then when we went over to the side to take the photo with her, you've taken, I don't know, probably at least 10 photos there. And I was like, this is so great because I can see it kind of like, flipping through a book. You can see the motion of how this happened. And I so appreciated that.
So to give everyone out there context, like when we do I'll do the meet and greet. Like I'll do the meet and greet. Like I'll run the meet and greet with Deb after the show or before the show or whatever. And it's good because, we all know each other. We all speak that unspoken language. Like she can give me a look and I know what it is, I can give her a look like, we got to move on, and she knows what that is without like, it being spoken. And so that's why our meet and greets, I think, run so well, and that people get, her meet and greet, one, she spends so much time with you one-on-one. and she really wants you to feel like she's seen you and she's heard you, and before we move on. And one of the things that, too, I think we avoid trying to take selfies because that takes so long. But I will say, give me your camera and I'll just snap away while I'm having her sign stuff. And people realize, oh my God, I've got, all these pictures, these candid pictures of meeting, my idol or, the person I grew up with. And I think she wants it to be that special, and everyone around her wants, it to be that special for everyone meeting her.
It was a fantastic experience. I mean, and like you said, I mean, it was like you could tell this group, they've done this before. They know how to make this run so that the fans feel they got their money's worth. They got that moment with their
right, because you see a lot
person.
of people where they're just like stand, go, like it's like, and people pay a lot of money, and that's all on her. She's that kind of artist that really, she looks forward to the meet and greet. She likes to, get one-on-one with her fans. And I mean, I appreciate being friends with and working for a person like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, for somebody like me that experienced this, I'm like, yeah, she was very, very present with me. Yeah. So I'm like, and I've seen some of the other ones, especially when I've just been hanging out in the club and they do it before a show. It's a cattle call. I mean, it's just like, and I feel bad because some people who've never done one, they don't know. They have all these expectations in their head. I'm going to ask them this, I'm going to do this, and maybe they can pose this way. And it's like, boom, you're done. And they're like, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And you can see they're really disappointed. And the people that have done a number of these, when something like Debbie's comes up, they're like, wow, this was so much better than all these other ones.
I think it took a while to like get into that rhythm of what our VIP was going to be like. I mean, because then you get to meet like the dancers, because usually, or the guitar players sitting there like helping out, and it's like, you don't just get to meet her, you get to meet the whole show basically with our group. But it is a well-oiled machine, and we do have a time limit usually. So, but the fact that everyone always like what you just said, come up to me and thank you so much. That was the best meet and greet I've ever had, and blah, blah, blah. That means a lot to her and means a lot to us because, we're a family basically.
Yeah, speaking the truth, I can only think of one other artist that had something similar, and that was Leanne Womack. And she took the time. She was talking to you. She didn't rush you to do the photo. I had actually just seen her daughter perform in Seattle, so I got to talk to her, and I showed the picture that I got with her daughter. She's like, my baby.
How fun.
And I still distinctly remember this. After everything was done, I said, thank you, safe travels. And she said, thank you for coming and thank you for supporting me. And then she caught herself. She said, thank you for supporting us, meaning her and her daughter's stuff. And I'm like, holy mackerel, what an experience that was. And she signed my photo pass because I was taking pictures at the show and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, same type of deal. I'm like, I'm going to pay for this VIP thing because when am I going to get a chance to meet her? And she was playing this club that I don't know why they booked her in there, because it hold like maybe 400 people. And so it sold out immediately. And I'm like, yeah, this is one of those rare opportunities, Mark. Take advantage of this because it may not happen again. So between Debbie and Leanne, those have been the two.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on our VIP. We really do.
And it's well deserved. Again, you guys, you figured it out.
Well, I think it helps that you all know each other too, because when you get like a VIP company in there, they're there to do a job, and it's just like, this is more, we like relax, we like music on, we like to, sing every now and then, and it's just fun. It's a fun experience.
It definitely was. And it was also nice too that it was, I think it works out better when it is actually after the show, like it was here in Seattle. That's like, okay, everybody else, you have to leave, and then you get into a line. And I remember you brought out the bags that had, I think it was a puzzle, a Debbie puzzle that was in the bags and stuff. And I didn't even know we were getting something like that.
Yeah,
like, oh,
like
cool,
she likes it. She loves that. She loves that stuff.
So anyone out there, if you have a VIP option when Debbie's coming to your town, your city, seriously look into it.
Seriously, it's a good time. Do side stage with the audience. We bring like just a few audience members that can buy seats on stage with us, and they become part of the show. Those side stage people.
Yeah, the gal that was, I think she was there with her mom. She was sitting 2 seats away from me in the audience, and then when she got to go up there to the side stage part, she was dancing her ass off that whole show, and she could dance. That's what was great. I mean, she was just having fun, and she was right in rhythm and stuff. And I'm like, when she came back down, because she was also doing the VIP after the show, I'm like, you should join her group. be Eddie stepping you. I mean,
That's so funny. That is so funny. And then I just like, once you said triple door, I'm like, brought right back to that venue. I loved that venue.
yeah, it's such a, when I saw she was coming, I'm like, oh, it couldn't have been a better place for her to be at. It's
Yeah.
just
It was
the whole,
just, it's cool and intimate. And I remember that about that triple door.
yeah, and you have people, you got the booths, you got the single table area things, and it's all stacked this way. And
Right, and it has fish tanks in the lobby, if I'm correct, right?
Yep,
Am I
it
right?
does.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember it. I remember it.
I met some folks from the Diamond Deb heads. I met some of those folks. I didn't even know what that was, and they were educating me about it. Oh yeah, if you do this, it's kind of like a Patreon, Mark. And
oh yeah, everyone should be a Diamond Deb head. I mean, like she literally. I mean, they get the in on a lot of things. Like even at Jimmy Kimmel, when there were really very little seats that we could give out to people while we were on Jimmy Kimmel. And it ended up like none of the Diamonds got it. She only had 4 tickets that they gave her to bring her personal friends into, and she gave them to the Diamonds. She did a raffle and let them have it. So I'm like, what artist does that? They care that much about. She really cares about her fans.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and that doesn't surprise me at all that she did that for her fans. And
yeah,
I also just. Shameless plug for the local folks here. I just saw today that she's coming back to this area for RetroCon in March. So she's
I just saw that too.
Yeah, she'll be doing autographs and photos and be a part of a panel. That's down for the folks that are local here. That's the people that put on the Washington Summer Con, and they just started doing the Horror Con about for the last 2 years. So RetroCon is something new, I believe, that they're doing, and Debbie's going to be there. So hey, if you want to do the whole, again, pay for a picture, pay for an autograph, listen to her panel, she's going to give you the time. Some of these other people, again, they just kind of bum rush you through. You're like, I don't even know if I met this person because now I'm standing over here. What just happened?
Right. It was like in a blink of an eye, a blur.
Yeah. Again, from personal experience, even if it's giving you, 10, 15 seconds, it's still going to be very meaningful to you because she will be paying attention to you. And she wants to hear what you have to say and your memories and whatever that happens to be, what her music means to you and what she means to you. She will definitely take all of that in. So I can't recommend it high enough, for that kind of experience. And again, anywhere that she's going to be making appearances, not just here locally in the Seattle area. So, but Eddie, one thing I definitely, you also talked about, so you met Debbie on Chicago, and it seemed like didn't you just do some shows in December for Chicago? You're kind of
so we met doing a regional production, and so in 2003, Chicago the movie came out, and it was huge. It won the Academy Award, and the buzz in New York City was everyone wanted. They were going to put it back out on tour, and everybody wanted it. And I was in a non-equity tour of it right before I met Deb. And so they remembered me from that. I was one of the only, now I had just gotten my equity card in the regional production with Deb. And then the 2003 was coming out a little later, like 3 years later. But they were setting it up in 2002. And so I was the only like young dancer they took on the road with them. So I did that from 2003 to 2005. And I knew my son, my husband and I wanted to adopt, and we were looking at creating a family. So I said, I have to set roots a little bit. And so I was like, I got to get off the road for a second. And I did. And then the New York company called and they said, you know what, would you be interested in learning all the roles on Broadway? And then if we need you, we'll call you in. And that has been what I've done with them since 2005 on Broadway to just December. So quite a long time. But I love it. I love it because I go in and out of the show. I don't I get to play different roles every time I go in and out of the show, and it just keeps it so fresh in my mind. You know, I never get tired of it.
Okay, I have a bunch of questions related to what you just said, but I definitely want to mention hello to Linda, who I know through Alice, and I also know through Debbie. She mentions, I love Debbie meet and greets, and Eddie was such a sweetheart.
Oh, that's nice. Thanks, Linda.
Since you've been going in and out of the show for what, 20 years, over 20 years, I think, since 2003. How much notification do they give you, and do you have to sit there and kind of like get the rust off of certain roles, or like back of your hand?
Well, I mean, there have been times that they've called me at 4 o'clock, you know, like today, and they'd be like, "Can you come on and be on tonight?" And I've gone, "Sure," you know, and it's like, light the fuse to the cannon and shoot me out on stage. And you know, I have a lot of friends that I ride the train with that are like, "How do you do that?" Like that do shows on Broadway. They're like, "How do you do it?" And I'm like, you know, there's a part of me that just is like, it's not rocket science to me. It's not, nobody's going to die if I miss a step. You know, I just don't have this like burden of like, it's got to be perfect either. I'll go on stage and I'll tell everyone, you're going to get a clean 60 out of me, 60%. You know, I'm not going to go 100 and just, you know, forget something and be at 100 miles an hour, you know, with no room to stop. So I always kind of go in with a little less energy. I kind of have to talk myself all the anxiety down right before I go on stage, and I just keep it cool, and go out, and you know, and 9 times out of 10, everything goes the way it's supposed to.
Wow. So how did those shows go in December?
They went great. I mean, there was in December, they just put in, like, they revamped the opening of the show, the overture, where we all come out and do different dances. And so I did need to go in like an hour early and like learn it before I performed it that night. So I had like a bunch of people in the audience, and I was like, "Listen, guys, I'm doing something I've never done, you know, in all my time here. This is all brand new to me. Just, you know, give me a lot of support from the audience." And, you know, they did. I mean, I do this lift in the show, and I've been doing it for years, but all of a sudden now it's changed and I'm the one being lifted. So they changed it so it's like a guy lifting another guy. And I'm like, I've always been the guy lifting, you know, it was always a girl, but now they've switched it. So now it's a guy lifting a guy. And I'm like, I've never been this high in the air, this close to the stage ever. So, you know, there were a few frightening moments to it, but, you know, I kind of just roll with it because, you know, it's fun. It's fun to do new things in a show that's been running the same way for a really long time, you know?
I can only imagine.
Yeah. And frightening and scary, and it's all of that, but it's, you know, it's also fun.
Yeah. Plus, and like you said, you've had such a long relationship with the show. Even if they changed something like they did, you still are very familiar with a lot of the other aspects of just being in that environment on that stage.
Right. So my first night on, I made it completely through the new overture, all the choreography I remembered, all the spacing I remembered. I get through, you know, the overture leads into all that jazz. Get through all that jazz, and I'm like at the end of all that jazz, we're literally singing, and that, and I'm like, I made it, I did it, and then I turned the wrong way, you know. And I was like, wait, something I've been doing forever, right? I screwed up at the end just because I was thinking in my brain, you made it, you did it, good job, you know. And then I screwed it up. But that's life, you know.
It is, and I appreciate you sharing that.
Look, I'm always like, for performers, I'm always like, you know, it's good to have the mindset of being a perfectionist and striving to give that audience the perfect show. But I don't think you're ever going to get perfect. Nobody's ever going to have a perfect show. There's always something, you know, or you settle into it and then it's not at the height that it should be. Something, but it's never 100. And I always try to go in with the mindset, it's not going to be 100 anyway. So just do your best, you know?
That's how it was. I used to play music around town with a duo, and my singer would get really nervous before shows. There could be like 2 people there, and she would still get really worked up. And I would always have to kind of talk her down off the ledge about we're here to have fun. I mean, how we are when we rehearse and we goof around and we joke around and talk. That's what we're going to be doing here. And I'm going to be telling those jokes on the mic, and I'm going to be doing all that stuff. So if I bum a chord and you go flat for some reason, it's not a big deal. People are here just we're at a brewery or a coffee shop or a farmer's market. We're like secondary in many ways. So if that helps you relax, I know it helps me relax. That's what I think about. I'm not like at some huge audition with the greatest people in the world, trying to critique me. It's not that at all.
And everyone's really there to have a good time, so have a good time.
Exactly. And people pick up, especially in those kind of environments that we played in, that, if you're really stiff or they can't really relate to you, or they're like, this isn't very fun. It's like, well, no, that's I'll start talking.
If you're scared, it's okay to be scared. You might say, oh, I've done, I play the ukulele, and we've done like Porch Fest and stuff out front of our yard, and I'm like, okay, like my husband will get really nervous and I'll be like, he's a little nervous today, and they relate, and then they cheer him on, and it just, if you create that, like, especially in like, as a musician or an artist, or it's your own thing, there are no rules. It's whatever rules you want to make, so like if you're playing a coffee shop or something, it's however you're going to make your show for everybody else. So if you're nervous, you can say, I'm nervous, hey guys, give me a little more, support tonight, because we're feeling a little nervous to be in front of you. Then they start to like relate to you a little bit better.
I couldn't have said it better. That whole part of really just kind of being transparent and just being honest. People can relate to that kind of thing. And even if they don't perform, they're still going to kind of feel for you. And there's that connection that just started to build, because they're like, oh.
And everyone wants to root for the underdog, so if you were starting off nervous and by the end you're giving them a great show, they're going to love it, I mean, you can't do that in musicals. I mean, it's set text, and set whatever, but in your own live thing, I really think it's like that one-on-one is what everyone expects, like, or doesn't expect. Maybe they think that they're just getting this, but then all of a sudden you're talking to them, you're being honest with them, and people appreciate that.
They do. I had a craft beer background, and so I easily talked about what's good on the menu today. What's good on what are you drinking back there? I see something there. And I remember there's one show we did, and this guy was wearing a Motorhead T-shirt, and I know that band, so I started talking to him about Motorhead. What's your favorite song? I can't guarantee we can play it, but what is your? And he was kind of surprised because we weren't playing stuff that heavy. And he's like, Motorhead? Oh yeah, man, I'm a metalhead. I know all this kind of stuff. But I also love this, and this. But so let's kind of talk about that. There's two guys came in right before a break in our set, and they told me during the intermission that it's like, man, we came in here. One, we didn't know they were going to have live music, and two, it's like, you were playing Sweet Child of Mine from Guns N' Roses, and my friend and I, we had a bet going that you would not play the solo, because I was playing the guitar part. And just a duo again, we're not a full band. So there's no way he's going to do that whole long solo that Slash does. He's going to cut that out and go right to the end of the song. And I played the whole solo with the wah-wah and the whole bit, and they're like, holy shit, so I owe him a beer now. That kind of thing.
Right. I mean, it's about setting up that, like, I don't know. It's about being authentic in the moment. That's how people relate to you in life and everything. You should just be authentic. Anytime I see anybody try to put on airs or like put up this front of this almost like, version of themselves that they think people want to see, it never really gels.
That is very true. I can give you a quick story that when I started doing all of this virtual work, I was offered to open this virtual tour by a band called Alice from Los Angeles back in May of 2020. And they said, Mark, how do you feel about doing like a 30-minute interview for all of our virtual shows? And they're going to do like multi-cameras, smoke, they turn their drummer's house into a club, the whole 9 yards. And this is something new to them too. They're trying to figure all this out. And I'm like, I know I could do the interview part, but I'm like, I'm not tech oriented. So like, what am I had a 5-year-old laptop and all this other kind of stuff.
Right.
Is this even going to work? And we kind of worked out all the details, but I still remember that very, very first show, which is on my YouTube channel, embarrassingly enough.
Did you do the multi-camera angles?
I didn't do it, but they did during their live set, and they also had DJs and the whole 9 yards and other bands on. But what was bad about it was that I was trying to be someone other than myself. I was not being authentic. I was trying to be like a Jimmy Kimmel. I was trying to Dave Letterman or somebody. I said, I'm open to, so I got to be this person. Everyone's going to be looking at me. And I got myself all worked up into a tizzy. And then I think 3 days into that tour, one of the guests that I interviewed, I asked them, I was like, what did you think about that afterward? And it's like, Mark, the best thing was actually when you made that self-deprecating joke about yourself. And he said, that's the Mark we know. And I'm like, really? That's what you liked? And you didn't like all the other stuff? I prepared, I wrote all this stuff down. And they're like, yeah, but that didn't seem like you. And so that's stuck in my head. So, okay, so the next interview I do tomorrow, try just talking the way you normally would talk to anybody when you do your interviews instead of this whole, thing I created. And it was a lesson learned. It was so much better.
I mean, it just made me think, like, when I judge dance competitions and all that other stuff, like when I'm an adjudicator, a lot of people, like, they always ask, well, like, what's one advice you can give me, like, as a judge, when you're judging, what are you looking for? And I'm like, listen, there's only one you, and there's only one person that dances like you. Yes, the steps are all the same, but, like, your technique should be like breathing on stage. And you don't think about your breathing. What you think about is, like, the story you're telling. And, I always go back to my favorite line that I came up with years ago was like, you can be technical, but who wants to read a dictionary? Like, they want a story. You want to read a novel. You don't want to be technically perfect and then have nothing going on up here showing me who you are as a dancer or, a singer. And there's a line in Coda, the movie. I don't know if you have ever seen this movie, but it's like there are great singers all over the world. But unless you have something to say, nobody really wants to listen. You have to have something that you want to say, not something you think the people want to hear. It's something you have to say from within you that then draws the audience to you because they listen in for that stuff.
This is going to be such a useful interview for anyone that's getting into the arts, that's doing anything art. You have such great information and such a really refreshing point of view to things that I completely align with it. And I just love how you break it down because you do such a really succinct job of, like, telling people basically, yeah, you need to show your personality, show who you are. This is many years ago. So I used to be a teacher right out of college, and they had like an arts center they were trying to build. So they had a fundraising concert. So I got some people around in my building to do one song. And it was one of them was in my guitar club. Actually, both of them were in my guitar club. But the drummer was our computer room tech lady who was like 66 or whatever she was at the time.
She was your drummer?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
We were talking one day and she's like, oh yeah, Mark, on Saturday, I'm going to be playing in this like polka band or something. I said, what? You play? What do you play? And she's told, oh, I play drums. Like, you got to be kidding me, really? So we just start talking about that. So I'm like, okay, we're going to do one song. We're going to I'll write this instrumental thing together. And what I found out with her is that she basically kind of knew like one rhythm on the drum.
The polka. That's all she knew.
Yeah. So I said, oh, okay. Because we were in the band room rehearsing like the very first day we tried this thing. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to change this music because
you're like, we're not doing a rock song. We're going to do Roll Out the Barrels. That's it. We got to change it because the drummer, is the heartbeat, so if all she's playing is polka. Or you could have mashed up a rock song with a polka beat, which would have been a lot of fun.
That's kind of what we ended up doing because I'm like, well, let me change the rhythm to this thing that I wrote. But I still want it to be heavy in the other half of the song because we're going to have solos in it. And so we had to change it to basically just work off of what she could do. So it sounded different. But
it's obviously very memorable.
It was. I'm into all kinds of different types of music, and at that particular time, I was listening to a lot of black metal. So we did the whole corpse paint on our faces, and we had hoods and the whole bit, and that included her.
I love it.
We got on that stage and we had our backs to the audience. That's how those bands typically start their shows, and then we turn around and then people see the makeup and all that stuff on us. But all three of them were incredibly nervous about this, and we're the only full band doing any kind of song at this fundraiser. And I said, look, same type of thing. Let's go out there and do what we do best. This is what we had so much fun. We've been having so much fun with this. This is no different. You don't have to think about these people out here, and we're not going to try to shift it to be something else that maybe they're expecting. This is what we're giving them, And if they like it, great. And if they don't like it, that's okay too, because this is for a fundraiser.
Right, right. And you just put your best foot forward and go at it, you know?
Yeah, you can't really do anything, like you were saying earlier, you can't really do anything wrong when you're presenting this. This is an original piece of music.
And it's not life or death. The art, you know, it's not, nobody's going to die if we screw up, you know, or have to start over. It's not, you know, somebody's not laying on a table during surgery while you're performing.
Exactly. And it went great. I still have that somewhere, like on VHS-C.
You know, you're going to have to share it for all your fans now. They're all going to want to see this performance.
I know. It's like, oh gosh, I have that. I've got some audio when I played at the talent shows at the school that I used to teach at. So I have some of that stuff. My brother actually played drums on one of the tracks, and all these things that a lot of people who know me as this media person now had no idea.
Right.
That I had.
So fun.
They're still there. But as we get closer to wrapping this up, folks that are watching this, again, if you have a question for Eddie, please put it into the chat before we wind things down. But Eddie, I was going to ask you, you've been involved with dance so long, and I've talked to a couple other dancers. That was actually last year, that there's certain things they're always going to be doing to keep up their body, keep in shape. What things are you doing to keep yourself so that you can get a call tomorrow and jump on Broadway and do a role?
So I work out 5 days a week, you know, out of 7. And I run 3 miles every other day. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I run 3 miles. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's calisthenics for me. I don't like to really train too heavy with weights, because for me, I have this mindset with working out and health that I want to be able to do whatever I can do now when I'm 80. And I don't think when I'm 80, I'm going to be lifting heavy weights and all this other stuff. I want to really just condition my body to just be at top peak at whatever age I am. So I just feel like it's got to be something that I can do regularly. And, you know, I've been around long enough to know, in the dance world and in the theater world and in the concert world, that you see these guys that are like, got these great bodies, and they're at the gym for 3 or 4 hours. And then, you know, all of a sudden, 10 years later, they can't keep that up, and injuries taking them out, and or something. And then immediately, that's when you see their bodies kind of like just fall apart, because they're not working out 3 hours a day. And so I've also looked at that. I went from being like, oh, I'm just the skinniest person on stage compared to all these like muscly guys. And I'm just like, oh, and I used to not like it. But then I'm like, oh, my body's, because of what I'm doing, I'm not trying to bulk up. I'm not trying to be too big. And I'm keeping the way that I was supposed to be framed, you know, and just keeping that up to snuff, you know, the whole way through, so that, you know, I'm at my best for my body at every age. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can run 3 miles. Like, I had somebody say to me, let's do a half marathon together. And I'm like, okay, what do I have to do to train? And they were like, well, you're doing 3 miles now, do 4, then do 5, then do 6, then do 7, just keep adding a mile. By the time I got to 6 miles, I was like, I hate running. Like, this is not for me. I don't want to run this much. You know, I enjoy it at 3 miles. I don't enjoy it at 6 miles. So I'm not going to run a half marathon with you, because I'm going to hate running when I'm done. So I don't push my body past what's enjoyable. You know, I like to work out. I like to do just enough that I keep level, you know, and that's hard after the holidays we just had. But, you know, I'm working back to it. And I want to be able to move the way I move at 80, you know? And you look at like the people that I work with, like, I mean, I work with Buddy, who's, you know, in his 50s and still backflipping. You know, I work with Deb, who looks amazing. And we all just kind of keep a good, healthy mindset. You know, none of us are trying to be, you know, she's not trying to be the skinniest thing or the you know, like 80 pounds of a pop star, you know, but she's also very conscious of what she eats, healthiness. Buddy's the same way. We stretch, we work out, every day we do what we need to do to keep our bodies, you know, in top-notch condition. I mean, Step's 60 years old that you saw. Mm-hmm. And he's doing Electric Youth right next to me, killing it just as much as I am, you know?
Yeah, no, that's such a such a healthy way to approach things, because you also know, like you said, what will I be doing at 80? This kind of workout routine. I actually have another guest that does the exact same thing. She's in her early 50s, and she said, Mark, the stuff that I do now is so that I can be healthy and ready to go at 80. That's what I had to switch what I was doing when I was 21 or 25. And it's like, it doesn't make any sense, because there's no way you can keep that up.
Right. I always look at people and I look at their gym routine and I'm like, can they do that when they're like, you know, even 10 years from now, you know? And that's where my mind immediately goes. If I can't do it 10 years from now, I'm not picking it up.
So again, you have such, and you mentioned this, I think before we went live, about that you had a podcast at one point, or is that kind of in the back fridge?
It's in the back. We let it go just this past December, you know, because it was getting you know, it's a lot, you know, and it had been 10 years of it. So, you know, now it's, you know, cataloged, whatever.
10 years. Holy moly.
We started in 16. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. And I started doing interviews in 2011. Not like this or anything, but just that whole process of trying to start a media thing. So yeah, no, I know what that's like. But my reason I asked that is because you're so good at what you do, and you have so many things and so much experience to put out there, that I need to go back there and listen to these things, because you've been such a tremendous guest.
Well, before you do, I will tell you, our catch line was all nonsense, all fun, all in. It's basically me and my friend Buddy Casamano, who is the other bookend for Deb. We were called the Bookend Baldies. And we came up with this podcast, and we would just talk like we were talking every day. And that's what made, you know, I don't know if we were giving great advice in the dance world or we ever had like a subject. I mean, it was basically nonsense for an hour, but people enjoyed it, you know?
Okay. No, I enjoy some nonsense.
But it was also all nonsense, all fun, all in. We were all in, it was all fun, and it was just whatever we were thinking about at the time.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to say this. I normally wouldn't say this publicly, but I do these things called fun table sessions, which are basically round tables with creatives who typically have never met each other. I do it based on personality and what they've said during their one-on-one interviews. And then I reach out to them and say, hey, how do you feel about doing this thing? It's a free-for-all conversation. We try to have it fun. We try to keep it, you know, not too serious.
Right.
Because it's easy to get serious way things are going on right now.
Yeah,
but we try, I know, we try not to do too much of it, but if you're open to it somewhere in 2026, I will definitely be reaching out to you, because I think you would be perfect.
Thank you.
For one of these.
And well, it'd be my pleasure.
Okay. Well, great, because I already have something in my head, or not something, someone in my head that I think you would be perfect with. And there's a lot of similarities, but your personalities are definitely different. But I can see this synergy happening. And knock on wood, when I've done these, I have not had a bad one. I've had good ones or great ones. That's what I've had.
Well, fingers crossed on mine.
Yeah, so I'll definitely keep you in mind. And Eddie, again, it's been such a pleasure talking with you and learning so much more about you. I just feel like I could be talking to you for hours.
I wish I had the time.
Me too. But it was so great, again, getting a chance to talk with you here. And before we kind of get to things, end things, what do you have something you want to promote, something that's coming up, what you want people to know about?
Well, I mean, we're leaving for, I don't know how many Chilean or Peruvian listeners you have, but we are about to go do our concerts down in Chile and Peru at the end of this month, which we're very excited about. This is like an encore performance for us, for Deb. It's a Debbie Gibson concert down in Chile. We just performed there last year, and they like, we want you back. And, you know, I think she sold out the arena, and it was one of those ones that just was like, wow, this is, you know, her in an arena is where she like lit, you know, that's when she shines. I mean, like, it's like, oh yeah, mega pop star there.
But and those audiences down in South America in general are nuts.
Nuts. And I've never been to Peru, so I'm really excited.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Well, I wish you all the success and all the fun with those shows at the end of this month.
Thank
and
you.
Yeah, and again, don't be surprised if I come knocking on your door about, hey, remember that thing I talked about with you? Would you want to
Do it. My door is
idea?
always open. You don't even have to knock.
I will remember that, sir. Thank you so much, Eddie. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank you,
and
Mark.
Have a great, what is today? Have a great Thursday. We're almost to Friday.
I was like, what day is it?
Thank you so much, Eddie. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Bye-bye.